可以开始了吧
Okay. All right, so let me share my screen first. Oops. Let me see. So guys saw me checking the restaurant. Excuse me. Give me a second. Stupid. All right, so good afternoon, everyone. And today will be our final, class per se. The next time, I will see you guys will be your final exam. So 所以今天是最后一堂线上课，然后我们下次碰面会在期末考的时候。So please be careful about a few announcements on WN5. The first one is you guys see the final exam here. The announcements. So the final exam will take place on Monday, June 13th, according to the syllabus. Right, 所以你的期末考会在6月13号的9点半到12点40, alright? Beginning from 9:30. And, we didn't want to make it 9, so you guys can get up. Okay? And you will have 3 hours. And exam questions, supposedly, there should be no programming. That's our plan. 就是没有 the final exam should have no programming. 就是你期末考试不需要写程式 but it will require you to, solve the problem will require you to formulate your model or explain what kind of, analysis should be done to solve the problem. Right? 就不用写程式，但你需要有能力做 model formulation. And this year...
Wait.
Yeah.
For now, I think we will decide, make the final call later on. But right now, we think we should go with no programming, but we haven't made the final call yet. Even we will let you know if our question will have the programming question. But even we have, it should only like 1 or 2 questions only. So don't worry too much. But so far, we think we will. We lean toward no programming, but if we change our mind, we will let you know. We will make the announcement on WN5.
Okay, so on June 13th on Monday morning, I will upload the exam onto WN5. All right, and so please make sure you guys log onto the Google Meet here and open your video camera. And don't worry about your privacy. There will be no recording or any stupid things. So the purpose, I'm asking you guys to do so because I want to do a head count. 我要确认一下有多少人实际上来考试 Okay, such that there will not be any case, if someone who actually does not take the exam, but he or she manages to, upload the answers. 就要确保不会有人就是莫名其妙没有考试，然后 whatever 方法还上了答案这样子。Alright, so please make sure you guys comply with the rule. And, I will do a head count on Monday, on June 13th. 这样大家有问题吗？ Do you have any questions? Let me know. Alright, so for your final projects, the instructions are updated. Oops. Here are some important updates on May 25th. So according to the syllabus, you guys are supposed to present on June 8th. 就原本你们应该6月8号 present 嘛。Because of the pandemic and considering your workload, and you guys do not have to present on June 8th. Alright, 6月8号不需要报告。You just have to finish your report and upload the following items onto WN5 by June 22nd. Okay, and there are 3 items required. The first one will be your presentation file. It's a PowerPoint. And please make sure you provide a link to your presentation video clip. 就是你要确保你上传一个你的 presentation 档案，然后里面有你video 的连接。那 also make sure you test the link, and the link will be able to, opened. And if we find out we cannot open your video clips, I think it's quite frustrating for us to, ask you guys further or again. Therefore, we'll just go ahead with your PowerPoint file and do the grading. And the second thing you need to turn in is a written report, and just keep the written report clear and concise. And you should not copy all your presentation content onto the report. 就是你可以交个简短的报告，但是请不要直接复制贴上所有的你的图片在报告上，那就不是一个 business report， 就不是一个 business report，OK？ And the last thing you guys will have to turn in is your Python code, and there is no Excel should be used, and we will 就是你的 final project model should be programmed in Python, and we will check your Python code to make sure we understand what you guys want to do, because sometimes your presentation may not be clear enough, and last year we check students model formulation to make sure we understand what's going on. 就我们会看看你的程式，去确保我们了解你们这样子。All right. So tell your friends who are not here. On June 8th, you do not have to present, and just finish the project on June 22nd, and the exam is on June 13th. Okay, 记得考试星期一。And you only have one final homework left. And considering your workload toward the end of the semester, Professor Zhou decided to make the homework as a group assignment. 就是你的最后一个功课会是一个 group 的 homework. Okay, and hopefully your life will be slightly easier. And also you don't have to present on June 8th. So you should be able to finish your group homework. And here is a, final warning. Let me put it in this way. Please make sure do not, turn your homework late. And typically, personally, I have been very strict to graduate students. But for undergraduate students, I think I'm kind of more, tolerating, and I break my rules several times. But it was quite kind of frustrating for us to, keep track of all those students who turn their homework late. And there's a reason for the deadline to be called a deadline. Okay, if you don't catch the line, and metaphorically, it's like you are dead. Okay, of course you are not dead. But anyway, please make sure you turn your homework on time. And for the last one, especially, it's a group assignment. Do not turn it late, and otherwise we will not grade it. All right. So that's my quick announcement. 就最后一个功课，请你确保你要准时交这样子。OK， 就是typically 之前我都完全不 take 任何迟交 homework， 但我已经对你们非常宽容了这样子。All right. So that's it. And let me know if you guys have any issues or concerns, and please make sure you send it us emails. Okay. For whatever questions you have, and make sure you read the instructions, and especially on the exam. On the exam, please make sure. On the exam day, please make sure you log on to the Google Meet link. Okay, so I can find you guys. And of course, I will not monitor you guys for 3 hours, but I will do some random check and make sure you guys are here. All right. So any questions? 有没有什么问题？
老师，那这样算是开书考吗
？No。
哦，好。
So far, 就是如果 formulation. So the student just ask whether it's an open book exam or closed book exam. It should be like your midterm exam. We will ask you guys some question, and you try to formulate the model. Right. So that's why for the time being, we thought we didn't want to give you guys programming problems. 因为如果叫你们写程式的话，不让你们查东西又怪怪的嘛。对 ，but if it's only problem formulation and to explain, we think closed book should be fair. And if you guys have done your homework and understand what's going on, and you should be fine. Okay. So 大家这样清楚吗？
老师，
是。
Yes. 请问那个作答的时候是手写还是用打字？
哦。Good question.
But in the morning, I think you say you can either type, you can either use Word, or you can handwriting and take a picture. But I guess I would suggest you use the work PDF or Word document, so it will be easier for us to do the grading.
No, but if they do the handwriting, they can still take a picture and turn it into a PDF, right?
Right, I think. Yes.
Yeah, I think you guys are allowed to use Microsoft Word or do your handwriting and take a picture, and if someone decides to use Word and do some Google some answers or whatsoever online, there is nothing we can do. But my attitude is I trust students. Okay, I hope we have mutual trust, and I believe you guys are good students. So we only want to test your understanding. So it's not an exam for you to fail. It's an exam to motivate you to study, to kind of convince yourself you have learned something this semester. Right？ 就是我原则上相信学生啊，所以你如果真的用 Word 打答案，然后你在那里查什么东西，跟别人传讯息，我也没办法管你。但是我希望我们有个互信这样子，因为我都很像现代学生这样。All right. So,
and like Professor Zhang said, if you use handwriting and you can take picture and turn into a PDF, I think you will figure out how to turn it to PDF and upload to the WM5.
So I think there is about 10 students who are not here. So
Not my problem.
Yeah, you can remind your friends and or you can tell them to present online on June 8th, so they will be very nervous. Anyway, so today the plan is as follows. Professor Zhou will finish the final lecture, and by the time she finished, I also prepare a simple example, as the concluding case, and kind of I want to motivate you guys to think deeper in the future for your career. Right, so today I will first hand over to Professor Zhou, and she will take you guys to finish predictive modeling. And as I said, please let us know if you have any issues or concerns, or if you get COVID or something, let us know. All right, so that's it.
Yeah, and I have like two reminders regarding the first one is regarding the final exam, like for my part of simulation and forecast. I think right now my thinking is I will not let you write a code, but I will ask you, if you want to perform the simulation to solve a problem, what will be the steps? How will you approach the problems? So that's my part regarding the final exam. And for your final project presentation, first of all, make sure you have the video clip on the first page of your presentation, so I can easily find the video clip, the video link. If I cannot find the video link, I will not grading. I cannot grade based on your presentation. And also, please make sure your group members, like, what group are you in, and the group members phone. Please list all your group members' names and the ID, so I can easily locate, your group member. If I cannot find the group members, I will not give you grade. 就是确保你们在上传 final exam 基本上你需要回答我的，就是我不会叫你写 code 去完成 simulation， 但是你需要回答 approach， 你需要告诉我说，如果我有一个 simulation 的问题想要解决，那我应该要怎么去 approach 这个问题？我应该第一步是什么？第二步是什么？第三步是什么？你需要做，你应该要可以做到这件事情。那你的 final presentation 的话，请你在你的 presentation 首页要给我2件事情。第一件事情是你的 video link， 请你让我容易可以找到。如果我找不到的话，我就没办法给你分数。然后第二件事情是你的成员，你是哪一组，然后你的成员是谁，请你清清楚楚的让我知道，在你的presentation 跟你的 final report。如果我找不到的话，我就没办法给你分数。OK。
Yeah, so one last thing, I think we will also ask you guys to fill out a group evaluation form. 就是我们会叫你填那个 peer evaluation， 就是评一下你的，看你小组内的合作状况有没有什么。The form is allow you to say, if there is any issue or problem inside your group, or if there is any free rider that you don't, feel comfortable with, and we will take that into account when we give the final grade for your project. Right， 就是会请你们填个简单的组员互评表，然后 and the content will be confidential. Okay, so no worry. And make sure your video link is is functional. Okay, you could use Google Drive or YouTube or whatsoever, but just make sure it's functional. Okay, so let's see.
Okay. So let's get to the lecture. All right. I think last week we talked about forecast and we we introduced three type of forecast method. The first one is the moving average, and it's quite easy. Like it's based the average of the past period. And the second one is the weighted moving average. Like instead of equal weights, the WMA allow you to have the different weights based on you think the recent data is more important or the other way around. And the last one, I think we stop is the exponential smoothing. Like here, exponential smoothing is like the weighted average between the like if I want to forecast the t+1, then I will use the actual data at the t and the prediction at the t. It's the weighted average of the past period of actual data and the prediction, right? And I think we spent some time last week to talk about exponential smoothing, like you can 你的麦克风要关掉。
不用够下去哦。
麦克风关掉。麦克风关掉。Sorry， 抱歉，大家抱歉。给我1分钟。
真假的？
给我1分钟，给我1分钟。
对啊，
让我提醒庄老师把麦克风关掉。抱歉。
就他每个礼拜，有些是每个礼拜前在演讲，不然就是老师去上电脑是当主日。就这样，先导致这样。
等我一下，抱歉，我马上回来，抱歉。
Guys, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, we spent some time last week to show you how the exponential smoothing can be expanded in this way, like because it's a recursive function. So, like for example, the ft is alpha. Oh, I'm sorry. At ft can be written in this way, right? And this part, the focus p, the ft minus 1 can be further write down as alpha minus alpha. Actual data t minus 2 plus focus t minus 2, right? 我们上礼拜花了一点时间，就是告诉你说 exponential smoothing 是一个 recursive function， 所以如果照这个逻辑的话，你最后是可以把它把 ft expand 到 f1， 然后我们有花了一点时间嘛 ，OK？ And I think we went over the Python code for exponential smoothing, right? I think so. Okay. Here, the exponential smoothing, I think we went over the code here last week. So and we talk about, if you forecast ahead, like all the forecasts will be the same value. Like if you look at the example here, like if you forecast ahead, forecast forward, like all the forecast value will be the same. 我们上礼拜有讲到啊，用 exponential smoothing 的话，你所有的 forecast 的值都会一样的。那是不是你如果看一下公式，应该会理解为什么？You know, if I look at the F21, will be alpha A20 F20, right? And what F22 will be alpha A21 plus. In this case, I don't have the actual data for the period 21, so I will replace with the forecast data 21. So in this case, the F22 will equal to F21, right? For all the forecasts going forward. 所以我们上礼拜应该有停在这里 and this part is like, you know, we have for the exponential smoothing, we have the parameter alpha, you know, so we can optimize the parameter by minimize the MSE or MAE, right? So this case, the function, the Python code here is like I try to optimize. I try to find the best optimize the alpha based on the MAE. And here I use the decision table. Like in the WMA case, like the WMA case, I also have the weights to optimize. And in this case, I use the OPT minimizer to do the search. And this is one way to do the parameter search. And the simple way is like you use the decision table. So you only define a range of the alpha. And for each alpha, you perform one exponential smoothing and calculate the MAE. And then among this alpha, you find the minimum MAE. And that will be the optimal selection, optimal decision. 就是这边我们基本上就是在做用 decision table 的方式在做在摄取 optimal alpha 嘛。那我们这边，所以这是一个比较简单版的parameter search。如果你要一个比较完整版的 parameter search 的话，那你就可以参考这边 WMA 的用 OPT minimizer write a function and you 用 OPT minimizer 去做比较完整性的 search。这样 ，OK， 这里我想应该没什么问题。好 ，So let's move on to the let's move on to the next method. So before we move on to the next method, let's look at the diagram here. Like we talked about the three methods last week. We just recap the three methods. We have the moving average, weighted moving average, and the exponential smoothing. And basically, they are based on the average of the past data. So, but if you look at the data here, the purple line here, if your demand data look like this, can you do a good forecast using the three methods? 就是我们如果有一个如果我的底面资料是像这个紫色的线，我用我们刚刚讲的3个方法，我的 forecast 会做得好或是不好。The answer should be negative, right? Like if you look at the green line here, the green line is the average demand over the years, right? But obviously you can see the average is quite different from the actual data. So why the average is so different from the actual data? Because first of all, your actual data has the trend, it increases over time. And in addition, it has the seasonal peak. Like if you have some, the months with greater demand, some months with the fewer demand, then you have the seasonality. If your data has like these two components, these two properties, then the three methods that we just went over would not be a good fit. 就是如果你的资料是有出现这个 trend 有随时间增加的，或是有 seasonality 的时候，我们前面介绍的3种方法就会做 forecast 没有做的那么好。那所以我们接下来的方法就是我们要去介绍说，如果你有 seasonality 的时候要怎么办，然后跟如果你有 trend 的时候要怎么办，这样。那这边有一个名词叫 stationary data. The meaning of the stationary data means like your data has no trend. OK， 你的资料没有随时间增加的话，我们就叫它 stationary data. 所以我们接下来就是会做stationary data plus the seasonality. 如果你的资料是没有随时间增加的，但是有 seasonality 的话，你要怎么办？And the non-stationary data, if your data has the trend increasing over time or decreasing over time, plus seasonality. So we are going to talk about these two, the models to deal with these two types of data. So the first one, the first model is the additive seasonal model. This is a model to address the seasonality. So from the equation here, it's quite intuitive. You have the base component and adjust for the seasonality. 所以这边应该是蛮简单的，就是你会有一个 base component， 然后会 adjust， 就是会根据它的 seasonal 去做调整，那这样就会是你的预测值。Okay, and for your seasonality here, you have the seasonality depends on the P. So what is the P meaning? The P mean is like the seasonal period. If your data is quarterly, then your P equal to 4. If your data is monthly, and your P will equal to 12. So, for example, if I have like T equal to 5 and my P equal to 4, my seasonality will be 5 minus 4 will be seasonal component 1. 这还蛮合理的嘛，就是如果你的时间是5，你的 seasonality 是4，所以你5减4的话，就是说你每4期是一个 seasonality。所以如果你是第5期的时候，你就会背上去年同期的 seasonality 去调整。Okay. So here, one thing to remember is like, if you want to forecast the forecast T, you use the base component at the T period, but you use last period seasonality to do the adjustment. This is the last period seasonality. And so the next thing is like we need to know how to calculate the base component and the seasonality. So the idea is quite similar to the exponential smoothing model. It's a weighted average between your prediction and your actual data. Okay, the ET minus 1 is the last period's base component, and the actual data minus the seasonality is the actual component, actual base component. 这里的概念跟那个 exponential smoothing 是蛮像的，它基本上就是你的上一期，就是你上一期的预测值跟你这一期，跟你这一期上一期跟这一期的base component 的加权平均。那所以你的实际值减掉你的 seasonality 就是你这一期的 base， 那然后跟你的上一期的 base 之间的一个加权平均。那 same idea for the seasonal component, it's the weighted average of your last period's seasonality and this period's seasonality. So this period's seasonality, your actual data minus the base component will be the seasonality, this period's seasonality, and the weighted average of last period's seasonality. 这样 Okay, so like we say, this model is quite similar to exponential smoothing. So it's a recursive function. You know, your prediction will based on your last period's prediction. So at first, you need to give the initial value. You need to give the initial value for the base model at the first stage and the seasonality at the beginning. You need to have the initial model to begin with. So for the initial value for the base component, it's the average of the first P periods. And the initial value for the seasonal component is the difference between the actual data and the base component. Let's look at the Python code that will be easier to understand it. 所以基本上这边我们在做的事情，基本上逻辑跟 exponential smoothing 其实还蛮像的，就是它是一样是一个 recursive 的 model 嘛，你是在就是你在做的是就是上一期的 base model 跟这一期的 base model 之间的 weighted average， 那它都会会需要依靠上一期的 base model 嘛，所以你如果一直回推的话，你在第一期的时候，你就需要给它 initial value， 它才可以往下推嘛。所以我这边在做的这里，I'm sorry, right here, wrong model. Oh no, here, right. Wait. Oh, right here. I'm sorry. 这里，所以一开始你需要给它initial value。那所以你这边的一开始，如果你是 P 是等于4的话，它的 initial value 就是前4期的平均。那你的 seasonality 就是你实际值减掉你的 base model。So if you look at the example here, like with the number, it will be easier to understand. Your base model will be the average of the first 4 periods, and the seasonal component is the actual data minus the base model will be your seasonal component. So once you have the initial value, you basically just follow the equation to do the calculation. And here you need to fix the code here. The code here, like I get the material from 2 textbooks, and their logic are slightly different. So if I follow the equation in the PowerPoint, the code here is true. The code here is the correct one. So you need to fix your code. 这里就是你的程式码有一点点不对，因为我是从那边我给你的程式码是从另外一个课本上面截取下来的，那它的2个课本的逻辑有点不一样，但如果要 follow PowerPoint 上面的逻辑，那你的程式码应该是在这里。You need to calculate the base model first and do the forecast later. You need to adjust the code a little bit. Okay, so, and once you do the forecast for the historical data, then the last thing is like you need to forecast forwards. Like you don't have the actual data, you need to focus forwards. So for forecast forwards, it's your base model adjust for the seasonality. So if we look at the equation once again, you have the base component and adjust for last period seasonality. So if we look at the example here, by your forecast 24 will be equal the base model at the 23 adjust for here my t equal to 23 and my n equal to 1 because I forecast 1 period ahead and the p equal to 4. And so my seasonality will be 24 plus 1 minus 4 and it will be as 20. 这边基本上我就是 follow PowerPoint 的公式嘛，就是我的 T 我最后一期有 base component 的时候是 T 是在23，然后我要往前预测一期，所以 N 等于1，然后这时候我的 seasonality P 等于4，所以我的第24期的 forecast 就会是根据 base model 的23加上 seasonality， 它是 seasonality 是 T 加 N 减 P 嘛。所以这样算起来，我会用的就是 S20。那 S20是在哪里？是不是在这里？它是4期为1年嘛，所以20、21、22、23是1年。那所以24是新的1年，所以它就会用去年同期的 seasonality 去做 adjustment， 这样可以吗？那所以如果是 F25的话。它就会用 S21去做 adjustment。Okay. And right here, I think it's quite straightforward. So if you have a question, just stop me because I think the equation here is quite straightforward, so I should not spend too much time on it. And this is just the Excel screenshot, because it has everything here. If you forget the procedure, you can look at the diagram here, and then you should recall the procedure to perform the model above. So, like we said, this model is to handle the seasonality. So, if you have the trend, the prior model, the seasonality model will not handle the trend. Like if you use the past data to do the forecast, it basically will follow the level of the past data. But if your data have the increase over time, has the trend, your model, you should have a model to incorporate the trend component. 就是我们刚刚用的模型基本上没有考虑时间的效应嘛。如果你根据的是过去的资料去做预测，它会 follow， 就是它基本上会跟过去的资料是在同一个水准，所以你就需要有模型可以去把随时间增加的部分考虑进去，那就是下一个模型这样。So this model called whole winters model. So it has, like compared to the prior model, it has the trend component to address the plot increasing over time. And so the logic is quite similar. It's the weighted average of your last period and this period. So the base component, like this period's component, is your actual data minus the seasonality is this period's base component. And for your last period, it's like your base component plus the trend component will be your this period's base component. 这基本上就是说你的上一期的就是 base component 加上它的 trend， 那就会是你对这一期的 component 嘛。那 这个是对这一期 component 预测，然后接下来你把你的实际资料减掉你的 seasonality， 就会是你这一期实际的 component， 它的概念都是一样的。So for your trend data, it's again your last period's prediction and your this period's actual data. This period's trend data will be your this period's base component minus last period base component. 就是它基本上的逻辑都是一样的，你就是用上一期的 trend， 然后跟这一期的 trend 去做一个加权平均嘛。上一期的 trend 等于是我对这一期的一个预测，就是上一期对这一期的一个预测，然后跟我这一期的实际的资料这样子。那所以我的 seasonality 也是一样的逻辑，就是我上一期的 seasonality， 然后跟我这一期的 seasonality， 那这一期的 seasonality 就是你的实际资料减掉 base component， 就是你这一期的 seasonality。And we also need to give the initial value. And so for the base component, that's the same logic. You have the average of the first P period will be the initial value for the base component. And for the seasonality, it's similar. It's the difference between actual and the base component. And here, for your trend component, the initial value will be 0. Remember, your trend component is like this period space minus last period space. And here, your initial value for the first period, their base level are all the same. So your trend component will be 0 for the initial value. 对吧？你基本上你的 initial value， 你的 trend component 的计算就是两期的 base 相减嘛。那你一开始的 base component 前 P 期都一样，所以你的 trend component 一开始都会是0。Okay. So if we look at the Python code, we basically follow the same logic to do the implementation. Like here, you have the initial value, and here trend component is 0. And then you follow the equation to calculate the base component, the trend component, and the seasonality. And once you have the all component, you can calculate the forecast. And once again, when you calculate the forecast, you use the last period seasonality to do the adjustment. And here, I think your code will be slightly different from mine. So you need to fix the code like what I have here, so it will consistent with your PowerPoint. 这边也是你需要修改一下你的程式码，就是它的逻辑，就是我是从2个课本拿出来，它的逻辑有一点不一样。那如果把它弄一致的话，你的程式码需要改成这样，那它才会跟 PowerPoint 上面是一样的。So if you are confused with the code here, you can just look at the example here. So it will be easier to understand, how to perform. Like your initial value is the same thing. And the seasonality is the actual data minus the base component. And the trend will be 0 at the beginning. And then you will follow the logic to do the forecast, right? And if you want to make the forecast forward, then you will just follow the equation right here. So let's look at the example here. If I want to forecast, if I want to forecast 20, it will here my t equal to 90, n equal to 1, and p equal to 4. I forecast 1 period ahead, so my t will be 90, n will be 1, and p will be 4. So it will base on E90 plus n equal to 1 times T90 S 90 plus 1. Right, so I will use the base component at the 90 and the train component at the 19, and also adjust for the seasonality, and the seasonality will be the last period's seasonality, like, seasonality at the 16, like 16, 17, 18, 19, like 4 period will be 1 year, so 20 will be the first season of next year, so it will based on the first seasonality last year. 对吧？就是你的逻辑基本上就是跟前面是一样的，就是你就是 follow 你的 equation 去做调整，然后你这边就是要记得你的 seasonality 调整的都是去年同期的 seasonality。Okay, and for the F21, it will be the same thing. But here you're unequal to 1 times T19 plus S17. Right? Okay. So again, this is the screenshot using the Excel. It has the everything in case you forget the procedure. And this one is the another type of the whole winter model. The difference is like instead of additive, right now I have the multiplicative seasonality. When you will use the multiplication to deal with the seasonality, if you look at the diagram, right now your seasonality increase proportionally over time. If you see your diagram look like this, then you will use the multiplicativity seasonal model. So the equation is right here. Instead of minus, you use the division here. That's the only difference. 所以这一个就是，如果你看到你的资料的 seasonality 是 increase over time， 你就可以就是在这边基本版的是用相减。那如果你看到你的资料是 increase over time 的话，那你就可以用另外一个whole winter 的模型叫做就是相乘的 seasonal effect。那它就是你的 equation 唯一的差别就是你把减变成除这样，其他的逻辑都是一样的。All right, and so I think the logic is quite similar. So I only give you the additive code. So for your homework, I will ask you to implement the multiplication version by yourself. All right, and before we went into a regression model, I will ask you to go to the WM5. Right here, and to download this one, the case. 就是请你到 WM5 把这个 case 这个下载下来，然后我们等一下上课会讨论一下这个 case， 就是把我们这学期做的事情是用这个 case 来讨论一下，然后我们才会进到 regression 模型。这样 ，OK？ 那我们就先休息一下，请你要下载这个 case 哦。